we're here with the Orleans Fire Rescue Building Committee for its initial meeting. And we have 9 voting members on this committee. I'm going to start at my left with Chief Deering, and we'll just go around and everyone can introduce themselves to the public and to the fellow board members.
Jeff Deering, the Fire Chief.
David Little.
Peter Canane.
Rick Cianfaglione.
Mark Matheson.
Kathy McNamara.
Rich Waldo, Director of Public Works and Natural Resource.
Emily Miller.
Mark Reel, Assistant Town Manager. I just want to remind everyone to have the microphones close. I know that tends to be an issue.
All right, so our charge has been laid out for this committee, and responsibilities are there. I think you've had this and had a chance to look at this as well. So the next order of business here tonight is make sure we're keeping Peggy happy over here. Thank you.
Mark, Kim had asked that we read through the charge
Okay.
in the meeting. Would you like me to go through it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Why don't you do that, Mark, and then we can organize the committee.
All right, just so everyone is on the same page and we can put it out there to everyone again. The members' composition is 9 voting members, made up of the fire chief, the DPW director, town manager or designee, the select board representative, OES committee representative, and 4 at-large members. The Orleans Fire Rescue Station Building Committee is established by the select board to advise on all aspects of the design and construction of a new fire rescue station. The committee responsibilities shall include supporting town staff in soliciting, evaluating, and recommending the selection of an owner's project manager and a qualified project architect in accordance with applicable procurement laws and regulations. Collaborating with the OPM and architect to develop and review design plans that meet the operational needs of the fire rescue department and the long-term goals of the town. Providing monthly updates to the select board and seeking their endorsement of a final design proposal. Recommending a design and associated cost estimates to the select board for consideration and potential placement on a future town meeting warrant for funding approval. Overseeing project progress through the design and, if funding is secured, through all phases of construction. Collaborate with stakeholders to ensure the design and construction of the new fire rescue station is compatible with surrounding existing property uses, and all efforts are made to mitigate and enhance any anticipated safety impacts to the elementary school through the design process. Utilize the town's professional staff to provide guidance on communications regarding ongoing process and inform the public on key actions. The town, through the select board and town meeting actions, has committed to focus on climate action through mitigation and adaptation. Building committee will work to propose a net zero emissions facility design to the select board that incorporates all available technologies. Additionally, the committee will ensure the use of sustainable land practices throughout the process. The committee shall continue its work through the completion of the fire rescue station project. It shall be dissolved upon the completion of the facility. The committee serves as an advisory role, making recommendations but not final decisions on design, finances, contracts, and scheduling. Final authority resides with the select board.
Okay. Just to ensure everyone's familiar with the charge, are there any questions or any concerns that members of the committee have in regard to clarifications they need on the charge?
Quick point, there's issue with people trying to get into this meeting. Of special counsel and Kim Newman are trying to get in. Peggy?
Let me look into that. I don't see anybody on Zoom, but let me make sure we're in the right Zoom.
Okay.
I'll email Kim, make sure she has the right link.
Okay.
Kim Newman, here we go.
Okay. That's it.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Ah, there's a smiling face we recognize. Okay, no questions or concerns about the charge? So the next item on the agenda is to organize the committee. We need to choose a chair and a vice chair. So, as a select board member, I just serve as the temporary while we get things organized, so I would be looking to accept nominations for a chair. Volunteers for a chair. Peter, would you be interested in doing it?
I'm going to decline the chair.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sounds like David should do it since has experience moderating things.
David, would you?
You'd have support
If
from staff.
I have the support of the committee, sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I think,
I do understand Robert's rules.
good point. I would accept a nomination then. David's willing. Anyone would make that nomination? For David to be
moved.
chair?
I'll nominate Dave Little to be chair.
Right, second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any other nominees for chair? Any other discussion? All right, we have a nomination and a second for the chair, David Little. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous? Thank you. All right, how about vice chair? Well, one of our school people. Any interest in that? Yeah.
No.
No? Okay. Emily, would you?
This is the first committee I've ever served on, so I'm not sure that's the best choice. In the interest of the committee.
Sure. I'm just looking to see that we have, recognize that we have a balance of people that have the engineering, technical background with others.
I'll go the vice chair.
Okay. There's a volunteer for vice chair. Can I get a formal nomination for that?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Others that might be interested in vice chair? All right, then we have a nomination for vice chair, Peter Canine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, here we go. So, David, I can turn it over to you, or I can just continue till the end of the agenda just to get us through tonight, and then you can take over, whatever is your pleasure.
I'm comfortable.
Okay.
So the next item of business is the overview of committee process with special town council.
Good afternoon. I'm Karis North from Murphy, Hesse, Toomey and Lehane, and with me is my colleague, Cliff Rhodes. Cliff and I are working with your leadership team to help out on a variety of projects, including procurement matters. Cliff is our procurement guru and has already provided some advice on this project and will continue to be available to provide advice on procurement matters as the process continues. I'm available and will be talking a little bit about governance, committee process, and other matters that come along. Mark and Kim asked me to introduce ourselves tonight. I understand you already went through the committee charge. I wanted to talk a little bit about being on a committee. Appreciate the fact that you're all there and that you have some volunteers for leadership on the committee. I think what you're doing is obviously incredibly important and technical, but it's great that you also have some non-technical expertise to have the role and the voice of the committee, of the community on the committee. You know, as a committee, you are subject to the open meeting law. Therefore, all of your discussions and deliberations have to be in public sessions. One of the things that I need to ask you to be careful about, because I'm sure this is something that is going to get comments and feedback from the community, is to please avoid having conversations about this project and the process and your role with each other outside of committee meetings. And that includes phone calls, meeting up in, you know, town hall, meeting up at a local restaurant, you know, sending emails, things like that. It's very important that you leave your conversations, discussions, and deliberations for the public meeting. To the extent that you get comments from the public, I would ask that you refrain from responding to them, but send them to your committee staff and then have those comments shared with the entire committee, and they can be discussed at the next meeting. They can be put on the agenda. You can have a section for public comment if you wish, and you can take it up there. But I think it's very important that you do everything possible to maintain transparency and the public process in this and in all of your work for the town. But in something like this, it sort of always comes to doing a better job and having more confidence in the process when it is all open and above board. And that's really what we want to have. You need to have a quorum, obviously, to hold a meeting and to make any determinations. And as your committee charge notes that you are making recommendations to the select board, they will ultimately have the final authority in the various decisions that need to be made. But I would expect that they're going to hold your recommendations up with a lot of authority and weight. We are available for any questions that come with respect to public meeting, public records, anything about process or governance. The chair obviously sets the agenda for the meetings and runs the meetings. You may allow public comment. You don't have to allow public comment. That's up to the chair. If you do allow public comment, you should allow that comment sort of even-handedly and not regulate it based on what people are saying, just sort of regulate it based on time. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is, particularly for those of you who are new to committees or who haven't been on a committee in a while, please make sure to take your ethics training on large committees. And when you're doing procurement, you often stumble across businesses or individuals that you may have past or current professional or personal relationships with. It's very important that you understand the context and the scope of the ethics rules. And we are also available to have any specific conversations about any ethical issues if they arise during the process. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, as is Cliff.
Ms. North, David Little, when you say you're available, is that something that we need to arrange for ahead of time at each meeting, or will one of you be attending the meetings?
Typically, we attend if asked. I find that it's more efficient to have us participate if there are specific issues rather than having us attend every single meeting. So yes, arrange in advance, please, if you need us at a meeting or if you need us in between meetings for any particular advice.
Thank you.
And David, you can work through me and Mike Slitro on, keeping track of that.
I think you need to count on that. Well, I'm familiar with committees, but not as chair.
Of course, we are happy to provide whatever kind of assistance you need. Just go through Mark and Mike on scheduling
So any other
or any other questions.
any other questions for special counsel?
Cliff, is there anything you want to add?
Sure, I can provide an overview of the OPM process, and I don't know to what extent people are familiar with that process. People are familiar with the process of public sector construction in Massachusetts. I'll provide a very general overview. If I'm condescending to anybody, I apologize. And if I need to get further into the weeds, please let me know, and I can do that as well. Essentially, in public sector construction in Massachusetts, so when a public agency or municipality goes out to build a building that is over $1.5 million in cost, which is not too difficult to hit these days, they have to hire an owner's project manager at the beginning of the entire process. So really, in the beginning, there is an OPM, and you can take a look at the RFQ that we have, the model RFQ available, that really goes down a really long list of the things that you expect the owner's project manager to do for you, for the town. And essentially, the owner's project manager is the owner's expert representative that will advocate for the owner and will monitor things on behalf of the owner as an expert, engineer, architect, designer, to supervise the entire process of construction. Once the OPM is on board, they will help you as a committee solicit the designer. They'll help create criteria that you'll use in evaluating the designer and evaluating how to pick a designer. They'll also work as the agents of the owner down the road in the next step after the design is done to contract to help with the the invitation for bid process for contractors, contract with those contractors, supervise the contractors throughout the entire process, serve as the owner's representative if there are any kind of issues in the construction process. They can also be available to be a liaison and be at committee meetings and be at other meetings within the town to be an advocate, if you will, for the project or to explain the project and the technical details of the project to others. So they will basically be the owner's eyes and ears, expert eyes and ears throughout the entire construction process. And so we have to pick those. The statute requires that municipalities pick a owner's project manager through what we call a qualifications-based process, and that's why we have what's called an RFQ. It's a process where you are primarily focused on quality and experience of the owner's project manager in projects such as this or very similar projects. It's a process that's designed really to get the highest quality owner's project manager that you can get. Whereas a bid process, like you'll use down the road with contractors, you have a number of contractors that all meet minimum qualifications and you're just looking for the low bid at that point. RFQ process is a little bit different in that you're looking for the overall best quality project manager out there.
Thank you. That was very helpful. You kind of jumped right into item number 5 for us, which was discuss the RFQ process. So Kim and Mark, I assume that we just need to direct you to move forward at this point. Is that correct?
Well, I was going to ask if we could have Mike Slitro come up and talk about where we are in this process.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mike Slitro, Special Projects. Just a really quick overview on the RFQ, or request for qualifications for the Owner's Project Manager, OPM. That was posted live June 23rd, posted in a local publication as well as online, as well as some of the state databases with such proposals and bids. The proposal or the bid window remains open till 2 o'clock on August 1st, so that is a couple weeks out, where we still will receive bids in the town manager's office. Coincidentally, today was an optional site visit at the fire rescue station. The chief gave an excellent tour to 7 of the candidates for project manager. So we're about halfway through the timeline. That Friday, August 1st, is the deadline at 3 o'clock. We will have, I think you had digital copies of what was posted. There are a lot of documents there, as there's a link to prior studies that relate to this project as part of this posting. When we have the proposals come in, we will have either paper and or digital copies available for your review for that selection process.
Was there a sign-in sheet for who attended the tour?
There is. We are going to post a question and answer based on the questions that were asked during the site visit, and I will have the attendance posted there as well. I can read it now if that's appropriate. I don't know that that's necessary, but it will be posted by the end of this week.
Thank you.
So, Mike, is 7 a good number, a normal number? What, in the past for projects when we've had the OPM, how many applicants have we had?
We've had site visits for other, not exactly similar projects, but 7 exceeded the number that I anticipated for today. It seemed like a good showing. I know there were a few others present. Is that a fair characterization?
And the other piece of this is that it was an optional site visit, so there could be more than just what showed up today.
How do we typically contract with the OPM? Do we do lump sum, cost plus fixed fee?
It's a Cliff question.
I usually see lump sum, but it can be either, and it will largely depend, I think, on an evaluation of what they propose to us.
Okay.
Any other questions from?
I'd just like to add briefly that, the OPM will be someone that you on the committee get to know quite well. And while they have a lot of expertise, they are going to be relying on you all for the unique Orleans perspective on the project. So don't be afraid to tell them what you think, to ask them questions, to push back. Yes, they're experts, and they will give you their expert opinion, but it's ultimately your project at the end of the day.
Any other questions? Emily?
Do we look at all the proposals once the deadline closes, or do we look at them as they come in?
Generally, we'll receive the proposals right ahead of the deadline, so we will not open them until the deadline, so that's when they'll be provided.
Maybe while we have Cliff here, would you talk about the process once we get the bids and the review process?
So, and if you review the RFQ, you'll notice that there are criteria in there. You will evaluate all the requests for qualifications that come in. You'll evaluate all those responses according to that criteria. There are categories for and a little description of how the responses will fit into those categories, whether they be a highly advantageous aspect of their proposal, advantageous, not acceptable. and you can assign numerical values to those reviews. Then the committee members will have an open discussion in a meeting such as this, where you're discussing the qualifications of those people and the reason why you assign a particular number and maybe somebody else on the committee assigns a different number to the same answer, and you can have a discussion about that. You arrive then at an agreement amongst the committee as to who the highest ranked proposer is, who's got the best response, and then you make an award to that proposer, and then we enter into contract negotiations with them. If we're unsuccessful entering, in a negotiation with them, then you move to the next one and the next one. Usually that doesn't happen. That's the process.
Thank you. Anything else for Mike?
Yeah, I got one question. Is it the expectation that we're going to interview the potential submissions, interview the companies individually?
That's a good question, Rich. We put in the request that that was a possibility. I think if we are anywhere in the receiving 7 or more interviews probably makes sense. So that is an option of the committee.
Thank you.
Do we have the option to interview a few and not all if we so choose?
Yes.
Okay.
We could shortlist the top 3, just interview the top 3.
Yeah, you can do that.
And will we be grading their interviews?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I will circle back around. You asked me a question about what the fee basis was going to be. I know that the sample agreement that you gave me for a review was a fixed fee agreement. So that might be what you're intending to go with here. We can.
Will they be submitting 2 envelopes in this bid? Is it just the RFQ? Is it just their statement of experience, or is there going to be a second envelope with the price proposal?
It is. I don't believe that it's a second envelope with a price proposal on this. This is unlike 30B proposals, which have to be the second envelope. This is a more open process, so the price proposal can come.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mike? Thank you.
Thank you.
Establishment of a meeting schedule. So this is going to probably be difficult and not accomplished in one night, given the fact that if you look at what the clerk's office has to do with all the various different committees that meet, particularly here in the Nauset Room, I think it's not going to be an easy thing to come up with. So maybe what we need to do is hear from everyone, unless Mike and Kim have already found an appropriate time slot that might work for us. It could help us out.
Well, we've been told that Monday evenings are typically available. Beyond that, I think there'll be a challenge.
So Monday evening at 5.
Yes.
Is that really the only time that's available for the Nauset
The
Room?
safest options. Now, we can obviously work together to find other
We
opportunities.
get some time at Friday night, but nobody wants to do that.
No, yeah, right.
We do have a second room that it could be an option as well
Very good.
downstairs where it can be.
It's going to be tough with a 9-member committee, and I think the Skaket Room would be a tough place to.
This is better up here.
So did you explore the Skaket Room?
We haven't, because we kind of felt like there's going to generally be a larger audience for these meetings and the larger committee, but we can always do that, and we can maybe, if you'd prefer to establish this at the next meeting, so we could do some more investigation, or whatever your pleasure is.
Is there a way to, with the RFQ, the quals being due on the 1st, is there a way to schedule time? I mean, we'll get them on the 1st and they get distributed to the committee. We have an opportunity to review them. Then there should be sort of a time where we should be able to book that now, since we know whether it's the 3rd, 4th, or the 5th, where we can all come together and at that point. So that may be something that we want to at least take a look at the calendar and make sure that we pencil that in, just because there's a time constraint with that. And then worry about the other
Can I
meetings
just
at
jump
another
in
time.
here?
Yeah.
We have a schedule. The committee needs to meet basically every 2 weeks from this point forward at a minimum in order to actually meet the deadlines required for our town meeting schedules, both in the fall and in May. So it's imperative that you try to pick a time that you can schedule to meet, because part of what we want to plan to do is tours of the existing facility and other facilities, so that you guys can have some comps in addition to just the OPM piece, right? So some of that we can start right away while we're waiting for the OPM docs to come in, and some of it will be later. But I highly encourage you to start brainstorming right now if there are alternative dates and times that you want to set as your regular meeting time, that you try to see if there's a couple that you can put forward. And you're not required to be at every single meeting. Obviously, Zoom works too, but we have to try to set a schedule that we can get out to the public for the whole process.
And at this point in time, Monday evening at 5 works for the town. Any
This meeting space.
comments from anybody on?
I'm good with this time.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the Monday night.
The only thing I would say is that, from a scheduling standpoint, July 28th is, I won't be available that day, but other than that, Monday nights are fine by me.
I can do Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays are harder for me, but I can make it work.
I agree with Peter. I'm not inclined to meet on a Friday.
No,
Vote no on that?
no, I was,
I think Mondays are okay for me.
Well, can I have a motion to schedule our bi-monthly meetings for Mondays at 5 o'clock?
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any comments?
Just want a clarification. Tonight's meeting was 5:15, so we're going to do 5 o'clock.
Well,
Can we do 5:15? Is that 15 minutes? It's just easier.
yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know who else is in the business world here, but, you
Yeah.
know, I think that does make some sense.
Later the
Yeah,
better.
there you go.
Well, that'll give Mark an opportunity to get here on
Yeah,
time.
showered in.
Theoretically.
And it's bi-weekly, right? Every 2 weeks?
yeah, I think normally it would be bi-weekly, but there's opportunity we might.
Do it more often.
Okay.
Right, but,
So
okay,
5:15 on
so
Mondays.
there's been a motion to amend it to 5:15. You have a second on the amended motion?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so let's go back. Do we all agree to, can I have a motion to meet every other Monday at 5:15, perhaps more often, weekly, for the Orleans Fire Rescue Building Committee?
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any comments?
No, to the chief's note, the 28th, I know this meeting room will be booked, the 28th. We have a sewer outreach meeting on the 28th, so if we were going to go to every other week, we would have to start it either next week or after August 1st.
Can I speak to that as well? I am not available the 28th, but looking at the timeline of the OPM stuff coming in, if we were to meet next week, then skip the 28th, that would put us at Monday, August 4th, which is right after those come in. And that is a short time to review that, but we may want to consider meeting that. And then we could potentially start the every other week from there.
And just to comment on what will align with items for future agendas, maybe we on the 21st, actually tour the facility in that meeting so that everyone has opportunity to have the tour, you know, and be on the same page.
Okay, so it's been moved, seconded that we meet starting next Monday, July 21st, and every other Monday thereafter, perhaps sometimes more often, as the schedule might require. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Just a couple of refinement points. One, scheduling is perfectly okay to have a discussion by email. So if you need to change or poll members by email, that's perfectly fine for meetings. Secondly, if you're doing site visits, you are still, if it's a published meeting, you are still required to publish an agenda, take minutes, and allow the public to participate. If you want to do a site visit that doesn't allow the public, it's still published, doesn't have to have meeting minutes, you cannot deliberate, you cannot discuss anything about the project. I think since you're going to learn, you probably want to do this review as a public meeting so that you can ask questions and have dialogue amongst and between each other and with the chief, who's a member of your committee. So I would recommend that you have someone with you who is taking minutes for that meeting, and that you carefully allow the public, if they wish to attend such a meeting.
Thank you. So I agree. I think it should be a public hearing at the site, because I know I have many questions for the chief and also for Rich. Peter?
Yeah. I have one comment that'll tie into that for future agenda. Prior to that meeting, I think it would be important, I was on the, one of the things I'm bringing to the table here is I was on the feasibility study committee, and we have 2 years into that. We've got $100,000 in design that we've done, and we all toured any number of facilities. I think it would be kind of important if I can give some kind of a synopsis as to what ground that the feasibility committee covered. There were probably 2 or 3 things that we saw that were major issues that we wanted to, you know, avoid or be able to address in putting the project together. So I'd like to suggest that maybe for the next meeting prior to maybe going on any field trips or anything.
Well, can we do that at the same time? I mean,
The ability within in the station to broadcast the meeting, we don't have that.
no,
Should we set up a space for a meeting?
well, during this, so let me ask a question. Should we hear from you here during a public meeting? Or are we gonna hold a meeting, adjourn, and go to the fire station? Or are you thinking we're just?
Oh, I thought we
gonna
would,
have a site
I think
visit?
step one is to get people on the same page about what the fire station's current conditions are, look at the site, and then I think we could either talk through some of that at the facility or talk through that at the subsequent meeting.
Yeah, either way, I mean, as long as,
I'd like to try and talk through it as soon as we can, just so we're,
yeah, I think it would be important. We've really covered a lot of ground, and most everybody here isn't, you know, privileged to that stuff. So I think it would be important to get that in front of everybody before we go too much further.
Okay, so could we do it could we circulate the studies that have been done ahead of time and then go to the site visit and you could talk about some of that work?
I'm sure we can,
At
yeah.
that time, okay.
Yeah.
Why not just take the first hour of the next meeting to go through the report? That way, if anyone is catching up from work or whatever to get there, and then go to the site. You just have to take minutes. You don't have to broadcast, so you can still ask your questions, right?
Yep.
So you have a chance to review the materials together so that everyone's had a chance. It's a lot to ask to do homework, right? In a week. And then go to the site, and then Jeff can actually point them out so you can see in real time, right? Have the contextual feeling, right, of the reporting and the conditions, so you have a sense.
So we'll
Right.
come here for the meeting, go
Meet.
through it,
Yeah.
and then go over there.
Right, and then you can adjourn from there if you want, right, when you're done.
Perfect. Does-
Exactly.
Does our recording secretary attend an onsite?
She'll be
Yes.
there.
Okay. Just a question. Thank you. I think that sounds good. Everybody on board?
Yes.
Okay, so we didn't have an opportunity to open this up to the public. I think that in the future, I will do that at the beginning of the meetings, but given that we do have a few people from the public here, is there any comment before I adjourn? Tom?
Are you going to cover items for future agenda before you adjourn?
Yes.
Well, let me hear what you have to say about that, and then if
I don't have anything to say. Does anybody else have anything regarding items for future agendas?
Thought we just kind of did that.
I thought we did too.
I had a quick question, and I know when council was speaking, they were talking about the possibility of the OPM attending committee meetings. And I thought that that would be something that would be absolutely necessary and typical that would happen. And I just wanted to ask council, is that typical what happens, or is it odd for the OPM to be at the committee meetings?
Oh, I think they're there after they're selected.
Yep.
They're your representative all the way through.
Good. Okay, before we adjourn, public comment. Mr. Finan.
Thank you. Tom Finan. Regarding future agenda, I would hope to see a high-priority agenda item encouraging the Select Board and town officials to urgently meet with the Nauset Regional School Committee on siting the new fire station rescue building on the middle school ball field property facing Eldridge Parkway. This is clearly the right place for it. All the studies that were done concluded that while the new station would likely fit on the Orleans property, they stated it is not an ideal location and a more desirable location should be sought. The chair of the Regional School Committee, Nauset Regional Schools Committee, has invited the Select Board and town officials to meet with them on this subject. This should be treated as a matter of great urgency. The door has been opened by the region. It needs to take act. The town needs to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments? Okay. How do we do, Kim? So I guess I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.